Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This is your host, Carmina, astrologer, card reader, and passionate about human design lately. And that's why I invited Denise Mathew today with us, who is a human design specialist, and she's also into astrology and cards. And we wanted to look at a chart of YouTube celebrity, not just YouTube, but somebody that we both find very entertaining, and somebody who's had a pretty amazing rise from like poor to super duper mega rich, and that person is Jeffree Star. So welcome, Denise, to the channel.
Thank you.
So Denise also is on YouTube. She has recently joined YouTube for human design, astrology videos, and or topics like that. So what is your YouTube channel, Denise?
It's just Be with Denise Mathew. I have two channels, so there's no confusion. One is for jewelry and one is for human design. Now, the Be with Denise Mathew may not show up as much, but it's there, and I'm slowly building it. I've got about almost all the types done, and I'm going to just keep adding. And I also have a sort of a compilation of Mother Teresa and Ted Bundy together, just talking about their how much their charts are alike, and it's kind of an interesting topic.
That's wonderful, because some viewers of this channel were just like, oh, please do Ted Bundy human design. So you can go to Denise and check out her Ted Bundy human design and subscribe to her channel for more interesting videos. So our topic for today, Jeffree Star.
Yeah, Jeffree Star. We didn't know that we were both loving him, and so that's good, because I love him, and I've already looked at his chart, and he's got a really interesting story, as you said, and it all shows in his chart. So I can share my screen if you want.
Yes, please do.
Here.
So we'll be looking at it from the human design perspective mostly.
Yes, and you can always throw in anything else. I mean, you don't have his chart, so I guess it won't show up, but okay.
Yeah, we don't have his birth time, but Denise already, she kind of rectified it a little from the things that we know about him.
Yeah, I rectified it to, I mean, it's going to be like probably about 4 hours, so it wouldn't be so good for astrology, but for sure for human design, it's okay. I went about 3 o'clock, and I mean, I guess if you played with it, you could figure it out even more. So he's a Scorpio, which makes sense, because he is very, he is kind of quite provocative and all that kind of stuff. So we always look at the top 4 numbers in any chart, and in Jeffree's chart, the most important number here, there's a couple things. I've done a lot of research on charts, and there's a couple of things that show up that really show someone who's going to have a lot of success. Now, it doesn't always mean that's the case. I mean, it really depends upon who you are and how you use what you have. But for him, the two things that really show up is the number 14. So he's got the 14 down around right there, and that's in his Saturn. Yeah. So anything that's in your Saturn is all about, you have to work with it so that you can get the gift of Jupiter. So he has to play with it. But the 14-6 it's like luck, a role model for luck. So I guess he's so lucky, and he has so much. The whole thing about the 14 is abundance, like getting a lot of luck and money and all this kind of stuff. It's also putting people in the right projects, and so he would be a great project manager and all that kind of stuff. And he does have a team that works with him, and so forth. The other thing that he has that's really good is the 43-23. Now, the 43-23 can be good in some ways, but on the other way, it can be a little bit hard for the people that carry it, because it's a fast forward energy. Steve Jobs, for instance, carried this energy, and he was actually kicked out of his company because his ideas were way too innovative and he was too, he was too fast forward and everything. But then afterwards, they brought him back into the company, and we all know what happened there. It was completely successful because he was very innovative. And Jeffree Star has the same thing, the 23-43. So that in itself is pretty interesting.
Yeah, we know
And
that he was the first person to put music on MySpace. He actually talked to the CEO of MySpace and said, please add music feature. And that was very successful. And also he was, the first person the first more famous person to keep on doing this, drag this man, make up like a woman and just promote this makeup look that's been like copied by so many people. And so, yeah, you're right about this innovation energy.
yeah, and when he came over from the makeup, like from the music, I mean, he completely gave up his music. I mean, he whatever money he had made for his music, he directed it into, everything related to his makeup and his brand and all that kind of stuff. And that's where he went with it. And he became very successful because he knew what he wanted. I mean, he'd been wearing makeup since he was a kid, and not in a always in a happy way, because he was tortured for it. I mean, he was
Yeah,
whatever,
bullied.
that was just not done.
He just persisted. Yeah, that's good. That's
Exactly.
also the Saturn energy. Like he got lucky and he persisted, through that, he persisted through the adversity, I guess, and he got his abundance.
Yeah. And if you look at the 43, his 43 is in his Saturn. Again, 43 is in Saturn. I mean, it shows up that he had to use his innovative ideas in a way that he was going to learn his lesson so he could get his Jupiter, which is 19. 19 is all about sensitivity and being able to show your vulnerable side. And having seen that, what's interesting is that he's always been very secretive. But this past year, I think it was last year, he did a documentary with Shane Dawson. And in that documentary, he talked about himself. He talked about all the secrets that he hadn't told anybody about, how he actually used to cut, things like that. And I mean, that's his gift. His gift was to be able to open
Open
up.
up. Yeah.
Exactly. All those things that were inside of him. And also, if you look at his top four numbers, which again are the 70% of your personality comes from your top four numbers, you see that he's got the 43 and also the 23 again. So really, really, very pivotal in his trajectory in life. Not only that, he's also got the 29. And the 29 is all about commitment, like being committed. And so that's what kept him going through all the, I mean, it's a good chance I mean, I can't say it's for sure, but that would have definitely helped him to say, you know what, this is what I believe in. I'm going to commit to it and I'm just going to continue on.
Yeah,
Anybody
he
with
seems
29.
like a pretty loyal person also. He has a long-term relationship and he collaborates with the same kind of people for a long time. So, yeah.
Exactly. So you see the 29, that's his commitment. Then you see the 30, that's his intensity. And that some people can call this like a hyperactive energy, like really, really a busy energy. But the thing is it hooks into the emotion. So it's an emotional energy, excitement. And when you can also connect it, the whole thing about human design is all these hanging gates, all these half lines, they're considered hanging gates, and they're like little magnets. And so what you're doing when you go out in the world, everybody has these. I mean, that's part of all our charts, but they're all individual to who we are. We're out there and we're magnetically pulling people who complete these gates to us. We don't even know it, but the energy is something that we're drawn to. And so being drawn to somebody with the 41, that's all about fantasy. And this is intensity. So when you think about fantasy, you think about, how can I shift, take what I want to do and bring it into the real world? But everything that he does, every palette he does in his makeup, it's got this sort of, it's got a character to it. He does, one was,
Yes.
I think was called like the blood, what was it, the blood or
Yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah. Now the latest one I think is something like the alien. I don't follow it well enough to be able to know about makeup, but he always has a theme which really shows up. So that's where this creative energy comes from, the 30. You have these kind of interesting things.
Mm-hmm.
There's also connection with fairies and stuff like this when you have this whole channel, but you can still have some of it just by having half of it. So
Yeah.
he's got the intensity, he's got the perseverance, he's got the 43-23 looking forward. But again, sometimes getting slammed for looking forward because not everybody's on the same page as you, right? And then we go into his moon with what drives him. Well, the 38's all about fighting. It's about fighting the good fight, but sometimes just fighting. And if you look at his old videos and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, I mean, yeah, he used to really fight. He used to
Yes.
really. you know,
I
he was
think
very, sorry, keep
I
going.
think I think it's also because of his, projector energy being frustrated. He had like bitterness, like he was very bitter,
Oh,
and now
absolutely.
yeah, you see, that he followed, his strategy. He probably accepted the right invitations, and he
Hmm.
just, he's super successful. And you see,
Hmm.
like, he's more relaxed, and even when he's a little catty, he's not like bitter. He's just like, oh, just gonna read some mean comments. Oh.
And I think that's good. And I'll show you where the mean comments come in. So the one thing that we know about how he was very bitter, and he was very angry, and he was
Yes.
suddenly he shifted. And a couple years ago, I mean, I don't know, what is it, 5 years ago, maybe 6, I'm not
Yeah.
exactly sure. Suddenly he had this transformation and things shifted for him. Now, I mean, he wasn't really, it's not really close to his nodes. I mean, because that's usually about 40, because he's just in his 30, but maybe he's starting to get the energy of his nodes. So now the 24 would be his Rahu, where he's switching into that slightly, right? Because you're moving forward into that. That's all about putting a positive spin on things in life, right? So it's a
Yeah.
sunshiny personality, which you can see that in him. You can see him laughing at the rude comments where other people wouldn't. But and he laughs, and he really does. You can see he's really enjoying it, and sort of playing with it. And I mean, that took a long while to get there. So that shows up too, this sort of sunny personality. I'm not saying he doesn't fight anymore, but certainly he can do a positive side and see the good parts of things as well. And
And also, I like when he presents his makeup, even if there are some things he doesn't like, he also says, okay, I like this, I like this. He never, like in a video, says this is absolute crap and nothing good about it. And, he always sees, okay, this is, at least it's cheap, so.
yeah, well, he's a big fan of, what is it, Elf brand, which is super.
Yes, I saw that
Yeah,
video.
yeah. Like I said, I don't watch a ton of his videos, but when I do, I just get so immersed in it, and
Me too. I get so absorbed. I'm like, I'm not going to buy all this makeup, but it's so fascinating to watch him talk.
exactly. So yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of things in here that show up in his characteristics, and I think it's really cool in that respect. The one place he might have struggled in his life to get things moving is, if you look in his Venus 53. So that's all about starting but not necessarily finishing. So he was probably initiating. He may have been initiating things, just trying to figure out if it was going to work. But then with maturity, or even with the right energy, I mean, who knows? Maybe his boyfriend has the completing, or maybe one of his assistants have the 42. The thing about the 53 is the energy for initiating, to start and do a lot of things. And but you'll just pick up something, and then you'll say, oh, that's interesting, and then drop it. And then, and so you have a lot of unfinished projects. But what happens is, if you have somebody, like I told you, a magnet that comes in, somebody else's energy, and they don't know they have it, it's just, you work well together, and suddenly you're starting to complete all those projects you started. So I feel like he must have had that energy to be really, moving forward and completing it. So, because he had all this power to do all this stuff, but maybe not necessarily the ability to come in and, the 42 down here is called the closer. So close a deal and continue on. So,
Yeah.
that
Maybe it was his boyfriend, because I mean, since they got together, he became even more famous. So maybe he does.
absolutely. Yeah, exactly. More successful. And so I haven't actually looked at that, but yeah, absolutely. So that's where he might have struggled. Of course, he's going to struggle with being a projector, because a projector is all about, their whole thing is about being recognized and invited into, what they do in their lives. And if you don't know that energy, and you're just going out and you're trying to be like a manifester, manifesting and initiating and doing all those things, which is exactly what a manifester is supposed to do. But a lot of people think they're manifestors, and they think they can start things and they can do all this stuff, and they're out there and they're just excited, and they're running on all this drive, and then bang, it's like, things don't work out, and you put all the energy into it and it just doesn't work out. So there's a potential that could have been happening with him, because really you have to be recognized. And I don't know where that big recognition came for him. When did somebody say, yeah, we really want you? But having said that, he is a 5-2, and a 5 by nature is going to be noticed more. So that definitely does really help a projector. So any projector who has a 5 in their energy is going to be helped, because they're going to be noticed and recognized, because that's just the way 5 profile works. They're just going to be noticed. But then he's also got the 2 as well. So which means not only will he be noticed, but his things will be drawn out of him. So it is the energy of the hermit, the 2, but it's also the energy of being things being sort of taken notice for something, not necessarily notice, but having people ask you to do something for them. So like given an opportunity kind of thing, you know, like, oh, I haven't seen you do things for a while, so maybe you can try this for us or something like that, because it's new energy. So things are taken, I don't want to say taken out of you, but they're invited out of you,
revealed out of you,
or
brought
invited
out
out of
to
you.
light.
Exactly, brought out to light. And he does have the 2 in his commitment. So what that means is that being committed might have been tough for him in the beginning, but then it was drawn out of him, or it was encouraged in him. Maybe that's a nice word to use. Encouraged in him. And because of that, he started to go, oh yeah, I can actually commit to things, right? I can do that.
You know what? I'm surprised he doesn't have the shock gate.
You know, he doesn't have the shock, but if you look at here, you have the 2838. And I would have expected him probably to have the 39 too, because that's provocative too. But you know, you have the 30, that's intensity. That's like real, like the 30, remember the 30 is going to be definitely intense, and he is intense. The 2838 is all about fighting. But the thing about the 2838, if it's not, you know, if it's not delivered in a mature way or the best possible way, you could be fighting everybody. And so yes, he was fighting, but also he's got a very powerful chart. I mean, you know, it doesn't look like a lot, but if you actually look at all the gates and everything, he's got a very powerful chart. You also look at the number 10. Now the number 10 is also, and it's in Neptune. Yeah. So the thing about so it's generational, but I'm sure he uses it to a degree. It's about empowering or not, right? This is about someone who could cut you down with their words within seconds. So, and who could do it better than he could, right?
Yeah.
And can. I'm not saying he doesn't do it anymore.
He did, like he used to do, like with Kat Von D when they had that fight, like, you know, she's not so popular anymore, but he's super popular. So he kind of brought her down when he had that fight with her.
Well, she actually, she initiated it. So
yeah,
I think he just kind of came, you know, I mean, she was saying that he didn't pay people and all that.
Exactly.
Kind of stuff. She dragged him.
He stole he stole the logo from some other company. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, which, you know, he basically said it wasn't true. And I, you know, I have a tendency to believe him, but, you know, because it sounded like it was pretty sensible what he was saying. So, you know, literally he could rip people apart with his words if he wanted to, but on the other hand, he can uplift them. He can empower them. So when people meet him, you know, and he has these meet and greets, people are just like, you know, melting because they get to be around his energy, because it is a hugely empowering energy and given in the right way. So yeah, he doesn't necessarily have what you would call the standard shock gates and all those kind of things, but he does have things that could definitely make him who he is. And again, the 2838, I mean, he struggled. I mean, life wasn't easy for him. It, you know, that shows it. The 28 is
Pluto.
Exactly. And so, you know, it's destruction. It's destroying. And, you know, what are you going to do? I mean, he has 28 in the line 1, and he also has it in the line 4. And so if we look at a chart, there's nowhere else it is in the chart, is it? No.
No, I think it's just there.
Yeah. So if we look at it in any chart, whenever you have the lines are how we progress through our chart. So if we have the line 1, that's the first line, which is investigating what it's all about, struggle, right? And then eventually he makes struggle his foundation, and it's all about what's worth fighting for and what struggles are worth struggling for. And I think that if there's a lesson that we can learn from the 28, because people say, oh, that's a terrible gate to have. Why would you ever want to, you know, because it means that whatever you do is a little bit harder than the rest of the people. So not only is he a projector, but he also has a gate 28, which makes things tougher. And why would that be good? Well, it's good because I don't think anybody can say, you know, you have these people like, okay, so Jeffree Star, you could say, or someone like Bradley Cooper, all right,
Mhm. Yeah.
struggled to get where he was. I mean, it was
Yeah.
never easy for him. But when he got there, there was a sweet taste of success because you know what? I worked here. I worked and I moved, you know, I did everything. I went through the blocks and I made it. And I think that when you have success that you've actually worked really hard for and you really pushed every button you could and, you know, just did it, it just feels better. And you can't feel it in that moment, but in the long run, it's good. And the one thing about the 28 is that they don't like you to tell them they can't do something. So I think the more that someone would tell Jeffree Star, oh yeah, you're never going to do that. You can't do that. The more he'd be
Yeah.
like, watch me, you know, watch
Yeah.
me. I'm going to
He
do it.
was criticized in the beginning because his makeup lines were not like vegan or cruelty free, but now everything is like vegan and cruelty free. So he's like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, for Jeffree Star, like one more thing is he's all about packaging. He's all about
Yes,
packaging,
he
you know,
loves
how,
it. He loves to tell a
yeah,
story, like
yeah.
to market it and like make you feel the fantasy, like make you like you're worth it, you know, feel.
Yeah, exactly. So he's got it that in the 30, but also if you look at the 44, he's got it in the 44 too. Now his 44 is in Venus. Well, that's all about beauty, right? His
Yes.
44 is in his nodes. So it means that he was working on it early in his life about and 44 is it connects to the 26. 26 is making the sales and it's all about sales energy. 44 is how you make things beautiful so that you can sell it.
Yeah.
And who does it more than him, right? It's all about sales energy. It's all about, you know, just trying to make things beautiful so that the sale can go through. And then, you know, sometimes the people with 44 can just they make things beautiful, but they don't actually go through with the sale. So
Yeah.
he does. So that obviously he's got that mastered, but it's 3 times in his chart, which shows it as a bigger theme. And the cool thing about the 44 that is just a little tidbit of information is you can have intuitive smelling. So you can have like people who feel like they can smell their grandmother's perfume or something like that. Like that would be something that he could potentially do as well. So
Yeah, and
that's
he also always, you know, he says, "Oh, I like the way this smells," or this. He's very sensitive to the smell of the makeup.
exactly. Exactly. And he would be. And the 44 would definitely make him more sensitive. Exactly. And that's really true. He'll open the makeup and he'll say, oh, this smells like I can just, like he had a Kit Kat
Yeah,
uh, palette or something. And he was like, it smells like real chocolate. So yeah, so that would make that happen as well. Um, he has the open identity. I mean, the thing about the open identity is sometimes you're finding your way through your life. And when you're younger, you may not know exactly where you want to go. And I mean, I think that he started with the music and eventually he transmitted all his,
transcended. Yeah,
whatever he learned and went to, you know, the makeup. And I don't think he's going to change the makeup, but the one thing about his makeup is it keeps changing. And I think when
yes,
you have an open identity, you're always manipulating how things are and changing them and being open to it all. The other thing about an open identity is you have to have a space where you feel comfortable. And I mean, he's got his house done up in a certain way, the way he likes it. And, you know, and he's got like fabric on the walls. And I always think, how do you even clean that? But anyway, you know, that's, who cares, right?
that's his problem.
Exactly. I don't think it's a problem. He's probably got people to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, you know, that's the cool thing about the open
I
identity.
think it's a very
Um,
good thing for a makeup artist to have an open identity because it's like, okay, you can mold, you know, to things, to different things. I think in his line of work, it's a good
yeah,
thing.
well, exactly. When you have an open identity, if you have someone with an open identity and someone with a defined identity, and I mean, we talked about this before, you go to an all-you-can-eat buffet, the open identity is going to have a plate and they're going to have it loaded with every single thing that looks good. Now, a defined identity goes, well, I like this, this, and this. And so they'll take what they like and they'll go to their table, you know? And so that's the difference. You're just always, you want to try all the different flavors. You know, if you get 10 bags of chips and they're all different flavors, you want to open every single bag of chips and eat, you know, have one chip from every bag so you'll taste it. So, and that's really good when you're in that kind of field where you know, you're trying to make things new and innovative. So he has that, and as well as the, you know, 4323. He does have the 6 hanging off his emotional center or his solar plexus. And the 6 is all about, doing hard work, working for what you need to work for, and, working to make money or whatever you need to do. And so that's, when we look at an open center, and we look at only the gates that are on this open center. So all the gates that are defined. And the one things he's got on his open center is he's got the 6, which is all about hard work, working for the family, working for, they call it tribal energy. And also this
The provider, providing for his boyfriend.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about providing. Exactly. So your truth. And
he's the sugar daddy for his boyfriend, actually.
Oh, he definitely is. But it makes him happy, and so
exactly, he likes to be a provider. He enjoys it. He wants to be in that position. So good for them.
Exactly. So, so this is what he's all about. And I don't know. His chart really does show up all the potential he could have had. And if you also look over here, we looked at his emotional center. Now he's not defined emotionally, which means whenever you're not defined in any center, what you do is all the energy that you reach, like when you're with other people, the energy that you're getting is from other people. So really how you're expressing yourself through those particular centers is really based on the people that you're with. And that happens with his sacral, with his will, with his identity, and also with his solar plexus and his emotions. So it means he can have really big, powerful emotions. And because whatever energy comes in, he's amplifying it and throwing it out at double speed. So these kind of people can be considered very passionate, very emotional people, but left to their own defenses, they can be just very quiet and not really, bothered by anything. So that's the thing. But that would show how he could be very passionate in his emotions and getting upset with things, which we've seen, right? That's all part of his,
yes,
who he is. And the one last thing here, I'll just throw this in, is the 48. And the 48 is all about details, making sure you get all the information. So I would say that he is not only researching, he is like researching and, calculating and just putting everything together to really, really get just the perfect formula. So.
Yeah, and especially because it has the Mars there, and Mars is all about, training, work, effort, and also the 3 line. So it makes it
experimenting,
even more.
right? So
yeah,
exactly. And it's also a place where, as we talked about this, you mature as you get older. And so absolutely, he's definitely matured, and you can see that. I mean, you can see the transition, and it's quite amazing. And in a way, it is quite beautiful when you see how hard life was for him and how it's become this magical place.
Rewarding.
And it's like you're happy for them. You're happy.
Yeah, it's like living the fantasy.
yeah, in a good way. So, but anyway,
it's wonderful. Yeah, it is such a nice discussion about his chart, and especially because we had planned like some other video to do, but then when we were talking about it, we realized, we both like Jeffree Star. So let's do Jeffree Star. So do you want to add anything else about his chart?
I mean, I could talk about his chart for hours, but I think that it gets boring after a while for people to look at. But yeah, I mean, there's when you look at a chart and the potential, and I mean, I think if there's one thing I want to say, and it's a huge big deal, because I am a firm believer in experimenting with human design and trying what works for you and all those kind of things. And I just want to say, I just hope that no matter what people say and who they listen to about human design, that they never stop being themselves just because someone told them that they're a certain way. And for instance, projectors get a bad rap in that they're considered bitter, that they're considered, the world isn't set up for them, and all those kind of things. And when you look at someone like Jeffree Star, who, in spite of all the things that could have been going against him, he fought and he moved through, and he became super successful. And there's a lot of super successful projectors out there. So ultimately, don't let anybody tell you that you're never going to be anything, or the world's not set up for you, because ultimately we're here. We can't go back, we can't go back inside our in our mothers and get reborn. We're here. We have to do the best we can. And as I say, projectors get a bad rap. So Yeah. Just go out and do what you need to do and experiment and have fun.
Yes, that's very motivational.
Well, I'm not trying to, but I get frustrated because people talk about projectors and
Yes.
they say, the world's not set up for you and you're
But
not going to.
they also say the world is not set up for manifestors. So the world is not set up
Exactly.
for anyone.
The
So
world is set up for every single being, and you can look at any particular type and you can see successful people doing it. Manifestors, okay, Jennifer Aniston, you got J.K. Rowling, you have who else? What's his name? Tom Cruise. You have Amy Schumer. You have, I
Cardi
mean, I
B
can go.
probably. She's
No, she's
also,
a projector. She's a
yeah.
projector. Yeah. But again, another projector who made it.
Mm.
Jeff Bezos, or the leader, the guy who started Amazon. He's a projector. I mean, you think he's struggling? I mean, yes, of course, maybe he struggled, but ultimately, the cool thing about human design is about learning about your energy, learning about how it works for you, and learning what works for you ultimately, and not
Yes.
believing what people say unless it feels right. So someone tells you, you're supposed to not do this. Well, you know what? Do it. If it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work, and then you try something different.
Yes.
And that's what human design's about. Just try. And Ra Uru, he's the guy that started human design. He's the father of human design. He always said, experiment, experiment, experiment. And it gets, it's not about dogma. It's never been about dogma. And anybody who says it is, or tries to present it as dogma, is doing a disservice to, human design, because human design is one of the best personality profiles that you can ever find. You can find your career. You can find where you struggle in your relationships. You can find, where you struggle sleeping. You can find where you struggle eating. You can find, there's so much, there's a wealth of information, and you can use it to benefit yourself rather than to limit yourself, right?
Exactly.
We're about expanding and be able to, walk through our lives and enjoy every single moment of it. And yeah, we're going to have moments that aren't perfect, and moments that we struggle, and moments that we have, sadness and anxiety, but that's human. That's what we're here to be. We're here to be human. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Denise. This is very enjoyable. And I hope you guys, learn something new. Even if you're not Jeffree Star fans, you can, learn about these gates, about these profiles. And you can check out Denise at her YouTube channel. What was it?
Be with Denise Mathew.
Be with
It's
Denise
just
Mathew.
Be with Denise Mathew. And it's Mathew rather than, a lot of people say Mathew.
No, I'm going to just link it also in the description box so you can more easily find her.
Yes.
And thank you, Denise. I hope to have you again soon on the channel. And I'll see you.
It was really fun talking.
Yes, it's always fun to talk to you. So I'll see you guys again soon with more videos on, human design, astrology, cards, and every topic connected to that. So see you guys. Bye.